Hello guys, welcome to yet another class guide video over the Revenant. We're making a lot of headway. We have three remaining including this one, not after this one. We have the specializations, the weapons, and then the elite spec that we currently have. And the next one that will be coming out for the Revenant will happen after the expansion and after I have played a little bit of the elite spec that is coming out with that one. So that's why the elite specs are all separate. And without further ado, let's actually get into the 5 specializations the Revenant starts the game with. So when you first log into your Revenant, you have access to these 5 specialization trees. The first one, and perhaps the most important one for any spec that you play as a Revenant, minus a healing spec, is going to be Devastation. This is your specialization which you use as any DPS spec, basically. It is your raw power damage spec. Currently, if you guys know anything about the Revenant, it is basically set up in the tree line for I am playing a power build, which means I have vicious lacerations. When you attack while wielding a sword, gain strikes of vicious laceration. This can be stacked up to 5 times, and it just basically increases my damage by 2%. And as you can see, I do have a sword equipped. This is the main power DPS spec line that you would go with. Now, I'm not going to go over each and every single trait. I'm going to go over the traits that you would want to take with these, depending on the build that you go with, because going over every single trait would mean way too long of a video. So I'm just going to go over the important traits as I did with the vicious lacerations. Now, if you are running a Condi build, you would want Furious Strikes, gain ferocity while dual wielding weapons. And the reason being is because you're going to have a mace equipped instead of a sword, so this is basically useless, and you never really take the last one, so, unless you're PvPing, so it's not as important in PvE. The next one you basically always take. It's a lot like Spotter for Rangers. You always want this one, especially if you are a DPS spec, and that is Assassin's Presence. Increase the ferocity of all nearby allies by basically 150 points. So you always take this. It's basically Spotter. And your very last one that you also always take is Swift Termination. Increase damage to targets below the health threshold. This one you always take no matter which DPS spec you're going to run. The other two aren't as important, unless of course you are playing PvP, but this is mainly for PvE. So your next specialization is Invocation. Invocation is kind of your jack of all trades specialization. You can use it with any of the others. It has great synergy with both DPS specs. It has great synergy with your healing spec and even a tanking spec. Basically, for all DPS specs, you're either going to take Cruel Repercussions, which is the first one. When one of your attacks is negated, your next attack will deal bonus damage, or you're going to take Fierce Infusion. Using a healing skill grants Fury. The most of the time that you take Fierce Infusion is if you're playing, say, a Condi build without Glint, then you definitely want this because it's one of your only accesses to Fury, and you want that Fury for the increased damage to your condition and damage, as well as crit chance being upped by 40%. The next one you take is Equilibrium. Invoking a legend triggers a burst of mist that heals allies if your energy is below the threshold, or damages foes if your energy is above the threshold. So basically, if you are really low on energy, which this here is your energy, so threshold is 50%, I believe. Sorry, no, 90%. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Basically, you will be damaging allies when you're really high on energy, and you will be healing yourself when you're really low. Which, well, healing your allies, which is really good because, hey, it's an added heal to both you and your allies. And Revenants are the squishiest of the 3 heavy armor classes. You don't really take the other two. You can. Basically, some of these you would take if you're a healer, but still Equilibrium is the best one to take as a healer as well, because then sometimes you're adding damage to the party, and sometimes you are able to have that little bonus heal when you're swapping between your legends. The last one that you want to take is Rolling Mists. Crit hit chance has an increased effectiveness when you're under the effect of Fury. Basically speaking, in the raw DPS form, you are going to be running Glint, and you always want to keep the Fury, the one that grants you Fury, up, so you will always have pretty much perma Fury on you. If you're running another DPS spec, you basically have Fierce Infusion, so every time you use a healing spell, you will have Fury on you. But for a healing spec, you want Shrouding Mists. While your energy is above the threshold, your outgoing healing is increased. While your energy is below the threshold, incoming damage to you is reduced. So basically, it's just a good spell for keeping your energy really high up there, first off. And second off, making sure that you don't die as a healer as well. Because, again, Revenants are very squishy. Another one of your specializations is Retribution. This one you very, very, very rarely take. It is your tanking one. So basically, everything here is based around being able to tank as a Revenant. So you have your taunts, you're taking less damage or making more damage from ranged. If we do, and this is still speculation out there, get an elite spec that grants us another ranged weapon, because currently the Revenant has a whole one, and it is the hammer, and we very rarely use it. It might be really good because foes that strike you from further away than the range threshold deal less damage, which would be great for survivability if we actually had more ranged weapons, and we don't. We have one, and that's the hammer. So you can tell why this is used mainly with the hammer and why it's mainly used as a tanking spec. Hammer goes with our dwarf here, who is our tanking stance, as we went over in the last video. Linking up here through the tabs. And it has our taunts, it has our gaining protection and retaliation, has weakening foes, our chance to heal ourselves. So basically, take this one whenever you feel like you're taking way too much damage and you need more survivability in the open world, or just in general, because it would be great, say, for the new maps that have been coming out, to, say, take Dome of Mists, the second one here, and the Steadfast Rejuvenation, just for the survivability aspects. Our next one is going to be Corruption. This is your main one that you would use as a Condi build. During the open world, you definitely want Venom Enhancement. So open world meaning anything PvE, raids, dungeons, just the world itself. And this is basically our access to poison. Whenever you apply Torment, you also apply Poison. Poison lasts longer. So you definitely want this one. However, you can do Demonic Defiance, which grants you resistance for a short duration, which is really good too, because it increases your survivability against conditioned damage. The second one you almost always will take is Abyssal Chill. When you chill a foe, you also inflict torment on them. But you can take Bolstered Anguish, increased damage for every condition currently on you. Now, this one is kind of good for PvP, because you're going to have tons of conditions on you, because that's currently the meta. So you can do that, but you definitely want to take Demonic Defiance then to synergize with that. Otherwise, PvE, that would be your one. And then PvE again, Diabolical Inferno. I have an entire video currently over a build for the Revenant that is Condi. Another link will be up here for that. So Diabolical Inferno, because we have 2 elites. We definitely want to be hitting those elites to get that extra burnout. Otherwise, you can take either one of these for PvP. They're both really good. Or you could just follow meta builds. Our last specialization that is for the base Revenant is Salvation. This one is for healing, and I will be doing a video over a Revenant heal build down the line, but everything from this basically has to do with your tablet, meaning, as you saw in the previous video, it has to do with this guy, Ventari's Will, or Project Tranquility, and will increase grants regeneration with the Ventari's tablet, so per pulse I would be getting regeneration. Blind nearby allies when using a heal skill. This is a heal skill, this is a heal skill. Basically all of these are heal skills. And while above the health threshold, healing to allies is increased. So you have to be above 75% health, which means with the energy, sorry, it was 75% energy that you had to be above, which is a lot better than 90%. And basically, with this, it's also dependent on what you're trying to do. Regeneration currently, you would have to be constantly pulsing it out for it to be your regeneration that would stack, because regeneration is a great healing aspect if it is your regeneration as a healer that the target keeps on, because you can get upward of 2, I think I got something like a 2k heal once on a regeneration through stacking all the healing gear, but currently it gets overwritten by other people's regeneration if they pulse it out or something else happens, and it means that your really good regeneration, because it's scaled with your gear, is gone, and you would have to quickly pulse it back out. So we'll actually go over that in a healing video anyways. So it's between these 2 here that you would take as a healer. You can take this one for added regeneration and swiftness when you move your tablet, because your staff will give you the regeneration and swiftness. You would want to actually take the dodge rolling removes condition from nearby allies, because it's a great Condi cleanse and adds 1, but you can also take healing done to allies increase for a short duration after invoking a legend, because the entire point is to swap between your legends. However, the bad thing about invoking Harmony is we don't have 2 healing stances yet as Revenants. It would be great if we did, but we don't, so middle one is almost always taken. And again, I'm going to go more in depth to why you take these in a healing build video when I get to it, which should be soon. And of course, the last one that you want to take is this one, because outgoing healing increased per 100 healing power by 1.5% is really good. You can also increase your healing done by the fragments and immobilize things, but basically you want the selfless amplification, which is your outgoing healing, so it does not increase healing to yourself, it will only increase healing, say if you're in a raid, to all the people that you are healing around you. And again, we'll go over all of this in a healing video. Anyways, I hope that helped explain the stances that the Revenant has, and I just realized I was still dancing. And I will see you guys in the next video, which will go over weapons. Thank you for watching. See you in that next video.